Alright, so today is April 27, 2015, webinar with Greg. And we're getting started with questions here. So we're going to hop right into it. Let me actually change my name up here, just in case anyone gets confused. Alright. Alright, so a long question here to start from Nicholas. I've learned so much from you about how Google works in the past few weeks. Thank you very much. You're welcome. I have one fundamental philosophical thing about it all which I just do not understand. In essence, I do not understand why old links into a PBN should continue to have any weight when they no longer exist anywhere except on the Wayback Machine. Well, if they don't exist anymore, they're not doing anything, Nicholas. Well, that's not totally true. When a link goes away, am I recording? Yeah. When a link goes away, it's kind of like the same thing like when you get a link, there's actually like a delay. So if you lose a link, typically you're not going to see the effects of losing that link right away. It'll fade over time. Just like when you put a link in now, it's going to take time for that to kick in, usually around a month on average. But, I mean, in the end, if the links aren't there, they're not doing anything for you, with that aside. Your video on relevancy is really helpful to understand why Google may have a problem here. After all, it is perfectly possible for an e-cig site to have a relevant link from a cat site. Is it okay for my cat to be in the room when I'm smoking an e-cig? Or for a cat site to get a link from a White House site. The president's wife loves cats, exactly. So I understand this, but if I buy a PBN which has a link from an authority website about cats and a link from a White House site, these were links which were created a long time ago. I don't really fully understand their relevance today. Of course, if I buy an e-cig or cat PBN, then rebrand it as a weight loss PBNY. I mean, it's still about link juice. Like I said, Google just has a really hard time distinguishing relevance. I showed the example where I just put up an old site that was about like real estate, and I just threw up a link about cooking, a cooking site. So this site right here, I just threw up the old site, used the old content, which you're not really supposed to do, but, I did it. If they told me to take it down, I would, of course. And then down the bottom, I just threw in a link to this right here, Delaware Personal Chef. Nothing about Delaware Personal Chef's on here, but this site carries juice, okay? It's not even a powerful site. I think I got this site for like $8 or something like that. I think it was an expired domain I got. Actually expired, but just adding this link in took 5 minutes to put up get the old site, upload the files and all that, and threw this link at the bottom, and it jumped up 2.5 pages. We can go see if it's still on the second page. It was page 4 or 5. It was like number 40 before I did that link. And the site is like Carolyn's Chef or something. There it is right there. So it's actually moving up. It's almost on the first page now. All right, so since we've done that, it's moving up, which is typical. Over time, links kick in more and more. I did this about 5 weeks ago, I guess, and now it's moving up even more. So, people put in PBN links and they're like, well, my PBN links aren't working anymore. I'm like, well, how long ago did you do it? And they're like, I don't know, like 2 weeks. I'm like, you got to be more patient now, and you see that right here. It moved up to like number 20 or 19 or something, I think it was, in the first week or two, and now it's moved up even more, and it might move up even more. Links are weird now. They just take a while to kick in. It might be a random thing, no one knows exactly, but it's still moving up, and all I did was I put it on an irrelevant site. This site carries link juice, so, I mean, it's powering that. It's identifying that. If you've watched my series on how Google identifies stuff, that it falls right in line because they have trouble identifying. So they got to use kind of like link juice. So hopefully that kind of clears it up. All right, from Nicholas, I was thinking of doing some launch jacking. I was not sure if I should set up one site, nixreviews.com, and then have Product 1, Product 2, Product 3, and then create a kind of authority site, or would I be better off having 3 EMDs instead? The only relevant thing that I can think of here is that Nick's review site could become a little bit of an authority site, just like Me Love Money. And this would be a good thing, but the disadvantage is that if the site got hit, I would lose it all. Whereas EMD got hit, I would still have EMD 2 and 3. Are there any other relevant considerations when making the choice you can think of? Um, yeah, I mean, you pretty much named it, Nicholas. That's, the ups and downs. And, of course, the benefits with EMDs is we know how to do them, and they're so powerful. I mean, you go search for any term, and you're going to see EMDs or partial EMDs on the first page. I mean, do like St. Louis, I don't know, bankruptcy law or something like that. I guarantee you we're going to see EMDs on the first page. Look what you got here. Here's a partial EMD because you got a keyword in the domain. Okay. Right here. Partial EMD. That's almost exact right there. Because you got St. Louis bankruptcy firm. Right here, partial, St. Louis bankruptcy law. That's almost an EMD itself. Right here, St. Louis bankruptcy. That's partial. Bankruptcy law of St. Louis. We had 5 of them. Half the first page is EMD, PMD, partial match domains. So I mean, it's just so powerful when you have a keyword in the domain because that's one of the biggest identifying factors, and that can't be changed. Like once you set up a site, the domain name can't be changed. That's what the domain is about. So that's why it carries so much weight. So that of course, that's the upside to EMDs is if you know how to do them correctly, they carry so much weight. Of course, we have the training on how to do them correctly. All right, so Nick's next question got cut off here. All right, in so much of your teaching, one common thread is to mix things up and make things look natural. In this spirit, I'd love to ask if it would be unnatural to have all my PBN links coming from PBNs which have been siloed. I want to maximize the usefulness of my siloed sites and think of it as a good strategy to silo all of them, but it did occur to me that doing this process is probably a minority thing, and that it might look more natural to not silo some PBNs. Is this sensible, or am I worrying about nothing? No, I wouldn't say it's not sensible, Nicholas. It's probably not something they look at, but I like the way you're thinking because why not just switch it up just in case? You know what I mean? Like I doubt if all your PBNs are solid, it would do anything. But why not mix it up a little bit? So I like the way you're thinking. But if they're all solid now, I wouldn't worry about that too much. Maybe just mix it up a little bit going forward, if you want to be safe. Because again, I like the way you're thinking there. But typically, no, I wouldn't see that causing a problem. Alright, from Yasin, if a PBN has a redirect after doing research on the website on Moz, is it okay? If so, how is it okay if it shows redirect? So if I get the link, then its links will be going to the redirect site, correct? As long as the links are going to the end site, that's all that matters, Yasin. So a lot of times you throw it in Open Site Explorer and it will show a different site, and they'll have a message below it saying, this site redirects to this site, and it'll actually show the site is being redirected to. You have to click the actual link to say, I want the original site I showed in to show, and then it'll show that original site, and it'll show all the links there. And if you want to double check with that, you can always go to some of the top links and look in the HTML code. Like for example, you right click, you go to view page source, and then just go to edit find, and then look for whatever site you're looking for. You know what I mean? So in this case, if it was branchlender.accountsupport.com I was looking for, I would just put this in here, do a search, and then it gets highlighted right here, one of one. If it wasn't in there, it wouldn't show up. When you manually through one redirect the page to home page instead of using Link Juice Keeper, how do you know if these pages you are doing a 301 redirect doesn't have a spam penalty? Because isn't the whole point of not using Link Juice Keeper so you don't get a spam penalty from one of the pages on your PBNs? No. The reason I do it, Yasin, is just to mix it up. Kind of as Nicholas was talking about. If they somehow can see how all your plugins and on every single site you have Link Juice Keeper, maybe that's something that could hurt you in the end. I mean, that's why I do it like that, just to be extra safe. But yeah, I don't worry too much about that, because I mean, overall, I'm looking at just the overall quality of links for the site. Alright, if a PBN has a low amount of spam links but lots of good links, is it okay to buy? I mean, that's up to your discretion. Remember, if you go over my March, April, May Mastery webinars, I have the penalty check that I've been doing. It's been working very well. I cover that, I believe, in the first and third webinars. More in the first, though. And good afternoon, Cliff. Alright, from Yasin, if the PBN section you mentioned only sending PBNs directly to a brand new money site, in the PBN section you mentioned only sending PBNs to a brand new money site if they are healthy PBNs. I'm a little confused. Aren't we supposed to only buy healthy PBNs? There is only two types of PBNs, penalty PBNs, which are de-indexed, and good PBNs, which are indexed. No, there can be PBNs which are indexed, which have a penalty on them. And again, we cover that in the first March, April, May Mastery webinar. I can show you. What was the penalized one I showed? Okay, so DelawareSEO.net is a penalized site of mine. It's an older site. It doesn't even show up for that anymore. Oh, here we go. So when you search for DelawareSEO.net, I'm just covering this penalty thing really quick. It shows up number one. Okay, most of the time when you search this, it's going to, unless it's de-indexed or it's like hacked or something, then it won't show up number one. But when you take out this period and do a space, it doesn't show number one, and it should. And this is not my site. These are all on subdomains. Like none of these are my site. So it's not even on the first page. It's not on the second page, not on the third page. When a site has a spam penalty, Google doesn't allow it to rank on the first 3 pages usually. So go over the first webinar. I cover this in detail, but there's penalty checks that you can do for stuff like, for at least stricter penalties, to see if a site has a penalty or probably has a penalty. You know, it's not flawless, but it really does help. I mean, you know, I'll get 50 PBNs and there'll be all the links look good, and then out of a couple of them, they won't pass my penalty check test, so I won't use them. So I mean, even for me, it helps me find sites that maybe there's something I overlooked I just didn't see, and it saves me. But I went over that in the first March, April, May Mastery webinar. It's in your members area. Joanne, do you ever send a link from a PBN directly to a money site? Yeah, I do it all the time, Joanne. You know, the reason I tell people to be careful of it, or to wait to do it, is just because I don't want people to hurt themselves. You know, if the first link you send to a money site is from a penalized PBN, maybe you missed some of our training, or you got lazy, that you're screwed. That site is going to be screwed. So I like people just to at least build up the authority, and then if they want to start sending links directly, they can do that later. But even I prefer people to build up the authority of site, then build links to the tier 1 properties, like, you know, to your Facebook and all that, and then from there, if you need it, then you can send them directly to the money site. And that's just being safe. I mean, sending PBNs directly to a money site is more powerful, no doubt about it. But again, I'd rather people be safe and take longer to rank than make a mistake and not rank at all. You know what I mean? So that's the reason that I do it. If you want to send them directly to a money site, and you know all the penalty checks are doing all that, and you're aware of all the training, then go ahead. But for the general community, I want them to, you know, at least wait if they're going to send me directly, just to kind of help. You know, we have a lot of beginners and stuff, so that's just general rule. From Steve, I moved apartment a couple months ago, but I haven't changed my who is info on my domains. I have received a couple of emails regarding some of my PBN domains to check and update my who is info. How important is it that I do this, and is it really necessary to change update? I don't know. I've never dealt with that, Steve. I would imagine it's not really a big deal. I mean, that's my opinion on it, but I'm not totally sure. From Delwyn, in the OTS video 4, you show Facebook, YouTube as a money site with Iowa City and End. How are they considered money sites, or are they PBNs? I mean, they're kind of like landing page. They can make money. You know, someone can go type in Iowa SEO or Iowa City SEO, whatever, and here we are at number 1, number 2, or number 1 in maps, number 1 here, number 3. We're number 5, number 6. This is for Iowa SEO, not even Iowa City SEO. Let's go to Iowa City because I think we're top 5. Yes, for Iowa City SEO, we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, top 5. And then we have our Twitter there at number 10. But anyways, these, like YouTube, Yelp, Facebook, Manta, these can all be places where we get business as well. You know, if someone doesn't click on the home page and they go to the YouTube video, there's our number. You know, they come to Yelp, our number's in here, our website's in there. So, I mean, it serves many purposes. It's helping build authority to our site. We can also rank it. And if someone clicks on this Yelp listing because they're familiar with Yelp, they trust Yelp. You know, maybe something's happened in their sequence of events where Yelp is, you know, one of their trusted sites in their head, so they click on the Yelp listing. Well, here's our company in Yelp, here's our phone number, so they can call us there. There's our site, so they can go to there if they want. So, I mean, it acts as somewhat as a money site, but also as a portal to our money site, which can help it rank and you know, help it gain more trust, both with the customer and the search engines. All right, Peter, how important is the registrar in regards to footprints? I have a lot of GoDaddy domains. What percentage for PBNs and money sites is critical? I think the registrar for footprints can be important if you're using smaller registrars. Then you have to be very careful about using them over and over. But with sites like GoDaddy, I'm typically seeing you don't have to be too careful. Like, most of my PBNs are on Enum, Namecheap, which is kind of the same company, and GoDaddy, and I have no problems with that. What I wouldn't do is send like the first 5 PBNs to a site from somewhere like Big Rock, which is a smaller registrar. You know what I mean? So the bigger registrars, Enum, GoDaddy, I wouldn't be too concerned about it. Try to mix it up if you can. You know, if your first 5 links are from GoDaddy, try to put it in Enum. You know what I mean? If you don't, it's probably not going to hurt you, but just to be safe, I would try to mix it up. You know what I mean? Steve, I have privacy protection on all my PBN domains. They don't all say the same thing. Like Perfect Privacy, for example, they are a mix of Perfect Privacy, who is the agent registered private, who is guard protected, etc. How is this still a footprint? As even though they are showing as a different kind of protection for the registered domain, they are all using some kind of privacy protection. Should I also use fake names as well, or is this fine like it is? It's typically going to be fine, Steve, from what I've seen. And also, remember, you're typically mixing in other links. You know, that's kind of what we've recommended. You know, Web 2.0s, Facebook, you know, you got your social. If it's a local site, you got your citations. So that's really expanding, you know, what's showing for your who is. You might have 5 PBNs, but then you have 100 citations. So your links are all mixed together. So only 5 of those are really your PBNs. So I mean, it's a lot different when you have other links involved as well. But even if you only had 5 PBNs, like if you chose just to do PBNs and nothing else, 5 privacy protected would be totally fine. Because I have sites like that and they're fine. Alright, from Riz, when creating a high DA properties or 2.0s, is it better to brand the URL such as brandname.weebly.com or go for niche keywords such as chicagoroofer.weebly.com, as long as this doesn't over-optimize you, of course? It depends what you mean by better. For ranking, keyword, obviously. You know, they're going to rank a lot easier. But, I mean, it depends on what type of project it is. Maybe if it's something you're going to sell down the road, maybe a brand name would be better for that. But, I mean, for ranking, no doubt about it, keyword. If you have a branded domain name, can you rank it for specific keywords with only the keywords in the anchor text and on page, but without the keyword in the URL, or do you have to have the keyword in the URL as well? You don't have to have the keyword in the URL, but it's going to make it harder. If it's not in the URL, I would put it in the title. Depending on the competition as well. I mean, because there's keywords I'll mix in where they're not that competitive, and I'll kind of mix them in. I'll put my more competitive terms in the URL and title, and then my less competitive ones, I don't even need them in the URL or title to rank them, just on page, and that's totally fine. So it really depends on competitiveness, on what you want to do there, and how many keywords you're doing. But yeah, you can definitely rank them just in the content, no doubt about it. Alright, I'm confused about DAS. There are a few videos, one from Jimmy, that Say to send GSA or Magic to RedTube Windows that then link to your money site. There are other videos of saying do not do this and have GSA or Magic at least 3 or 4 levels removed from your money site, and not just sending it to your tier 2s. Can you clarify, please? They've changed that, Steve. They've now said just doing level 3, 4 back. They used to say tier 2. Now they're saying 3 or 4. When adding links to PBN posts, does it matter which link appears first in the post, the money link or the authority site link? No, but I'll mix it up. Not even intentionally. I do both. What PA&D values do you recommend as a minimum for PBNs? Can it be detrimental for money site when I link a bunch of weak PBNs to it? It depends what other links you have. I mean, it could be, I guess. But I know people who have ranked sites with all weaker PBNs, so to speak. Minimums, it's hard to say. My minimum is usually like bare minimum I use is usually, well, actually that's not true. I use as low as like 12 for some links, like when I want to send like generic anchor text. But when I'm trying to rank something, usually the minimum I send, like a keyword, the minimum is 24 for me. But for everyone, it's going to be different. Depends on your budget. I mean, you can rank sites, domain authority 10. It depends on the competition. So, I mean, it just depends on a lot of factors. As long as the links are strong going to the site, or the links are healthy, relevant to what the site used to be about, that's what I care about. There could be just 2 good links going to the site and not much else. Maybe it has like 4 links going to it. 2 of them are pretty good, 2 of them are decent, and the domain authority is only like 13. But that can still create some movement. So, it all depends on what you're doing. I ordered my first gig from Qzx911 Service this week. 800 social bookmarks was delivered yesterday, and all 800 plus links are from .info websites. Wouldn't that create a flag with Google? I haven't really used Qzx911 Service, Deborah, and I'm not sure what you're using that for. So yeah, let me know what you're using it for. I typically don't use it too much though. What makes a PBN so powerful? Is it because they are old domains? The links go on to the PBN, Delwyn. That's what powers it. What is the maximum number of PBNs you need to rank a site number 1? One site. Depends on competition. I've ranked plenty of sites to number 1 with just 1 PBN. I'm starting to watch the DAS videos, and the videos about social sites, you said you usually just start with a Facebook account, not page. Isn't it against Facebook terms first? By account, I just meant a Facebook, whatever, Deborah. It doesn't matter whether it's page account, whatever. So, I mean, I didn't necessarily mean like a page, just whatever. Whether it's a Facebook page or I don't even know the proper terminology, to be honest. Just some type of Facebook account where you can get a link in there. I've been following the OTS example. There is no Yelp for the country I'm targeting. Can I send PBN link to Foursquare instead? Absolutely. In the example, you sent one of the links to Yelp page. Thanks. Yeah, you can send them to any of the citations you do. Just try to make sure they're above domain authority, I don't know, like 80-ish, maybe even 70. I mean, they don't have to be, but that just gives you more room to work with. The higher the DA, the better for them. The easier it'll be to rank, the more trust it will pass and all that. Starting out, what do we need other than the OMG Command Center? I mean, it depends what you're doing, Delwyn. The OMG Command Center is great to have because it has so many tools in it. I mean, you don't really need anything to start. You can rank a local site with just citations, which you can do manually. So, I mean, technically you don't need anything, but there are certain tools that are going to make things easier. It just depends on what you're doing. From Cliff here, if you're using a PMD and you can use a synonym in the URL structure a lot, can you trigger an over-optimization penalty? I mean, you can, Cliff, but what it does is it gives you less room to wiggle with in other places. Okay. So, I mean, if you do that, it's not like you're going to get an over-optimization penalty. It's just like, it just gives you a little less room to wiggle in other places. You just have to be a little more careful with your anchor text and stuff like that. I've been testing with this and found that using the word boat in the silo structure a lot when the word marine is in the domain name causes drops in rankings for keywords with the word boat in it. Yeah, and again, it's the whole picture. You know what I mean? Like, you got to consider what your anchor text is, and on-page factors matter, but not as much. But you got to consider everything. But yeah, partial match domains are awesome. I mean, they can be extremely powerful. You know, when we go back to this example we did, what did we do? St. Louis. Let's even do a different city because I guarantee you we get the same thing. Let's do Chicago bankruptcy lawyer. I mean, you just see EMDs or partial EMDs everywhere. All right, here's two right here. Those are maps though. Surprisingly, there's not many on this one. Let's go do Los Angeles. Most of the searches I do, they have EMDs or partial EMDs. Here we go right here. EMD number 1 for Los Angeles. Yelp. I mean, it's in the URL for these. You know, on bigger sites. You see that a lot, of course. Avo. These are all bigger sites. Avo, FindLaw. This is a partial match, has bankrupt in it. This is partial match, has bankruptcy in it. So even when you have one word in the domain, it gives you a lot more weight because, again, a domain name can't be changed. So that's why it's such a big identifying factor. Like having it in the URL helps, like we saw up here, you know, like in Thumbtack and in Yelp. Having that keyword in the URL is going to help, but nothing like it's going to help with the keyword in the domain, like we see up here. You know what I mean? Because, again, the domain name can't be changed. An inner URL can be changed. It's very easy to do a 301 and change it. But a domain name can't be changed as easy. That's what the domain is about. That's what's identifying what that whole site is about. So that's why the domain name carries so much weight. And you're going to see a lot of PMDs and EMDs ranking for any term you put in. All right, let's go to the next set here. This is a file question or EMD ranking video. When trying to rank an EMD for that same EMD keyword phrase, if the EMD has to do with a local business niche, like maybe cheap Chicago landscaping as EMD and keyword, would you suggest having the name of the local company associated with the site be the EMD itself? So company name on site equals EMD, domain equals EMD, copyright and footer equals EMD, or would you use another name for the company displayed on the site, like Best Green Landscaping? I typically don't like mixing words like cheap, like putting words like cheap in the domain name, because I just don't, I think that's kind of like spammy. I mean, not saying that wouldn't work, but I would rather just do like, you know, like Los Angeles landscaping. And then if it's a PMD, just use Los Angeles landscaping or the name of the company. That's kind of a confusing question, but however you're doing, I wouldn't really brand it as cheap. You know, like I wouldn't like doing that. Not saying it wouldn't work, but that just seems a little off to me. I'm not sure how well that would work. I've never tried it just because I don't put words like cheap in my domain name. That might be something I put on an inner URL. But as far as like the domain name, remember that's identifying what your site's about. Now, the cheap is not a word I would want in there really. So I mean, just be careful with that. But I mean, yeah, like EMD, it's fine to put it in your footer and all that type of stuff. All right. I recently started and I'm a bit confused of where to start. I'm very interested in the Amazon training, but I don't know if that is the right place to start. What do you recommend? Raphael, it depends what you're trying to do. I mean, if you're trying to do Amazon, start there. If you're trying to do clients, start with the March, April, May Mastery webinar series, Supremacy section, and of course, make sure you go through the orientation section by David Mills. From Patrick, first of all, I would like to thank you for all the great stuff you share. You're welcome, Patrick. I have a local city SEO site in Sweden. I was wondering if you think it would be okay to use PBNs from the US and have them linking to my SEO site and citations. Should be fine, Patrick, but you can always double check in the Facebook group. I've never really dealt with Sweden or other countries, so there's plenty of people that have, though. So you can always check in the Facebook group with those people. Is it still okay to use vCrack and SaladBuilder and social exposure on our PBNs and our money sites? Yes. Although I typically don't, Andres. Well, I use Social Explosion. I'm sorry. Um, the Kraken Salad Builder. I'm not sure. The video one I don't use, but the regular salad builder I do. Alright. From Deborah, once you buy PBNs, it's important to get them hosted quickly for any reason, or is it okay to let them sit? Well, I forget what I'm doing. It's okay to let them sit. Just be careful about letting them sit on a host empty. I've had sites where I put them up and I just had WordPress and they got a thin content penalty. Just be careful of that, but it's okay to just let them sit with nothing at all, like no host at all. Google see which plugins we are using on our site. If so, does this leave a footprint or indicate to Google that we are doing SEO? If we're using plugins like Link Juice, Keeper, Sparrow, etc. I'm not totally sure, Steve. I've never confirmed that myself. Probably should. But again, if you're mixing other links like we recommend, getting citations or just other links in general like social properties, it's not going to matter too much because you have all those mixed in. It's making you look a lot more natural. From Nick, we got one from Nicholas coming up. Alright, my first long question got a bit cut off. My misunderstanding concerns if these links which were created a long time ago don't really fully understand their relevance today. Of course, if I buy an e-cig or cat PBN and then rebrand it as a weight loss PBN, why can't Google just detect that the site was unused for several months, then discount the link? Surely they would only take a programmer about 5 minutes to do. Why do I still get juice from these old links? Do you think this is likely to change anytime in the future? I don't know, Nicholas. But it works. You know what I mean? Obviously, they have a problem with that because, how are they going to discount it, Nicholas? What if the current owner just had the site dormant for a while? What all those links going to a site should be discounted? It must not be that easy if they haven't done it yet. You know what I mean? Furthermore, am I correct in saying that if the link goes to the home page, I get credit for it, but what happens if the link goes to another page which does not exist? What do I do? 301 redirect. We have training on that, Nicholas. You use 301 link juice keeper. From Israel, saying it's too advanced. He's going to go back to the blueprint. From Nicholas, this is a question about hosting. Since you mentioned that Google is now tracking hosting, I obviously don't want to set up more hosting accounts than necessary, and I have wondered if it is okay to do this. Have one PBN link to Money Site 1 and Money Site 2. All these are on different hosts, and also have the same PBN link to another two Money Sites 3 and 4 when 3 is on the same host as Money Site 1 and 4 is on the same host as Money Site 2. Is this okay, or would it be better to have Money Sites 3 and 4 on different hosts? I would have them on different hosts if it was me, and also just remember, the more money sites you're linking to from the same PBN, the more of a chance you have to get in trouble. Not saying you will, it just ups your chances. Alright? I'd rather pay a few extra dollars for another hosting account than have a money site wiped out. And PBNs. Just above powerful domain, should I juice one big money site, or can I juice multiple money sites? It's up to you, Mark. Again, just be careful of footprints, and also know the more sites you put on a PBN, the more of a chance you have of hurting multiple money sites. Not saying you will. I don't want to scare anyone, but of course, when you do that, the chances go up. Do I do it? Of course I do. Not all the time, but of course I do it. But if something ever happens, it's going to be harder to identify the problem. You're going to have more sites affected, so if a problem comes up, then it's going to be more of a mess. But of course, just doing one link per PBN is, it's hard to do. Even, I put up a PBN, I'm like, all right, I'm just going to do one link per PBN for now, and it never happens. Just because you want to get as much out of it as you can, obviously. Alright, I installed both Yoast SEO and Google XML on my sitemap. Yeah, they're giving you a warning. I ignore it. I don't know if that's the right thing to do, but I ignore it. How to build up the authority of a site. links to it, social properties, PBNs can do it. I mean, when you have links coming into a site, they'll win. That's building up the authority. How do you feel about using mic workers? I use them, and they work. Depends on what you're trying to use it for. Peter State doesn't have sound. No one else complaining, though. Let me make sure no one's complaining about that. Alright, good. No one else complaining. Because I know last time sound cut off for a little bit. So it's better to send PBNs to Web 2.0 properties or social sites and have them linked to the money site instead of sending directly to our money sites. It's safer, but it's not as strong. So it just depends what path you want to take. So if we want to use a PBN and are unsure if a couple of its links look a little spammy, and we do the penalty check steps like you suggest, and each check comes out okay, can we assume that PBN is safe to use and link out from? I do, Eric. Or should we ensure each link from the PBN passes the check too? That's what I do, Eric. If it passes, I'll use it for whatever. Because again, if a site has a strict spam penalty, they will not allow it to rank on the first few pages, on the first 3 usually. Now, of course, if you're doing a penalty check where it's a term that only gets 10 results, and you can be number 10, so you can be on the first page if it has a spam penalty. But if it's something that has, like, a couple hundred results, it's not going to allow it to rank on the first 2-3 pages. So, I mean, as long as it passes that, I'll usually consider it safe. I have a little confusion about who is, etc. You have mentioned the problems when you have too much perfect privacy because this is only available in a couple places. Am I correct in assuming that this is different from the normal standard privacy, which is available pretty much everywhere? If you have a big PBN network and several money sites, could you give me an idea of a good mix of perfect privacy? Normal privacy, real name, and fake name on some of my money sites. My own name. Alright, so, I mean, it all depends on other links you have. If you have all PBN links, I mean, for me, if I have all PBN links and only PBN links, I try to do maybe only one perfect privacy per 10 PBNs or something like that. Just because I've had so much problem with sites that say perfect privacy. I don't know why, but for me, I've had so much problem with them in the past that I'm very careful with those sites. That's Network Solutions and Register.com for me. Those are the two registrars that show that. So, I mean, typically, now if there's 10, I might use one that's Network Solutions and one that's Register. Both say perfect privacy, but they're from different registrars, so I consider that okay. That's typically what I do, if I'm using only PBNs. Okay, of course, if you have other links in the mix, like we generally recommend, that's not as big of a deal. Alright, from Nicholas, silo structure. It is suggested that we do not link from one silo to another. I think it is also suggested that we do not have a major menu on our site that reveals all of the silos. Is this correct? You can ask Network Empire about that. I don't worry too much about those little details, Nicholas. I know they do. So if you're really into siloing and making sure you get it technically right, you can ask them about that. But I don't worry too much about those little details. If so, then if I create a major site with several silos, is it okay to have a drop-down menu taking you to either the home page of the privacy policy or the About Us, but not including all the silo stuff? Again, that's something I would ask Network Empire. I personally wouldn't worry too much about it, but they're going to probably tell you no drop-downs. I can almost guarantee you they'll tell you that. Alright, duplicate content. I'm not the greatest on duplicate content, but I'll try to answer this one. Is there any problem if I do a very original article for a post but include a transcript of the third-party video or the text of a reported speech by somebody? My guess is that if the script is 99% of the article, then it could be a problem, but if the script is only 50% of the article, then it is not a problem. Is that correct? I believe that's correct, Nicholas. Again, Network Empire would know a lot about that. They do a lot with content curation. So they'll tell you like the proper way to do that, which I think you gotta I think you would put it in blocked quotes to be safe. Even if you didn't, it would probably be safe, but you can chat with Network Empire on that to make sure. But again, I haven't dealt too much with doing that type of stuff, so I don't know the answer for sure. I'm ranking in page 1 for keyword acne free overnight, your one and only acne solution site, but there's no conversion. What am I doing wrong? Conversion, you would want to go to Fletch for Raphael, probably. That would be a great webinar to go to, or maybe Joe. I'm not the best with conversion. So I don't know what's going on there, Raphael. I more do SEO stuff. That's more what my webinars are for. Alright, I'm going to set up my personal site, nick.com, for some local services. I note Cotton's Chicago listing is cottongrammar.com, Chicago SEO. If I will use nick.com for some other stuff too, do you have any thoughts on using nick.com SEO Chicago, not Chicago SEO? I like that better, Nicholas. If Cotton did his site to date, like now, I believe he would do it that way. I mean, you could ask him, but because if he keeps doing that, like stuff like this, like he does like every city, for example, in the country or something, or just does a bunch of cities, that's something that could hurt him in the long run, having so many SEOs on that first level inner URL. So yeah, I would do it the way you're showing there. Obviously, Cotton site works. My instinct is that creating SEO silo is probably better. Yes, that's my thoughts. I also currently live abroad, non-English speaking country. If I target the city where I'm currently living, is there an issue if I just have one page on my site in this foreign language? I would assume not, Nicholas, but I've never done it. Also, I presume that I should include the city in the permalink in its native language spelling rather than the English language version of it. Yeah, if you're going after the foreign language, I'll do the foreign thing in the URL. Can I still have success sending a strong PBN domain to a new domain? Absolutely. I got new domains ranking with just PBNs to go onto them. I've done nothing else, no social, no citations, just PBNs to a brand new site, and it's making a lot of money. Plenty of them, plenty of sites like that. So yeah, it can be done. It might take longer to rank because it's new. It's going to take time to gain trust. But yeah, it still works. It's just going to take a little longer to kick in. Just again, if you do that, make sure you know what you're doing. And I'll typically only do that with sites that I don't care much about. Like I wouldn't do that for a client site. If I had a new client, even I would probably build citations first and all that in social before I did PBNs directly to this site, just to be, because it's not my site, it's not my business to play with. But if it's an affiliate site, then I will do stuff like that all the time, because I don't really care about losing affiliate sites. You can always rebuild them. I'm still learning a lot about PBNs, so sorry for all the questions about them. If you have a PBN that does not have anything to do with the money site, if you put the keywords in the URL title, will that work? Yes. Again, it's more about the links going to the PBN, the power of the links. I got Seawork service from your ranking videos. Yeah, they're probably older videos, Deborah, and I mean, it can still work a little bit for stuff like YouTube and stuff, but I would use the other stuff ahead of, unless you can't afford it, use the other stuff. I mean, stuff like PBNs, you're going to see a lot more success than Fiverr gigs. That's more like a starter thing. From Nicholas, some potential PBNs out there with good links have some really specific domain names. If I were to buy a PBN called something like Railway Timetable, can I really use it, theme it for something other than railways to promote? Yeah, because remember, who says a railway site can't link to an SEO site? Maybe the railway site, an SEO company did SEO for them, and they put Iowa City SEO in the footer. You know what I mean? Is that irrelevant? No, because Iowa City SEO did their SEO for them. They're just putting their link in there. Or Iowa Web Design. This site was done by Iowa Web Design. So again, it's really hard for Google to distinguish relevancy, and that's why irrelevant sites can still move a site a ton. Is it worth it to guest post links to my sites? I mean, it depends on what you're trying to do. I mean, you can make money doing that. Just depends if that's a model you want to follow. Languages. I plan to do one site in English and in French, as I speak good French, and I'm happy to do the same video in English and also in French. Am I better off having two silos, one for each language? Or could there be two identical pages for each article? Identical save that the language is different. I don't know, Nicholas. I've never done it. You can ask in the Facebook group or Network Empire. And again, anything I've never done, I don't like answering just because I don't know the answer. You know, I answer things about things that I've done and I know the answer for sure for usually, or at least have a good idea on. This questions like this where I've never done it before, I have no idea, so I don't want to answer that and give you a wrong answer. All right, for my niece, how long would it take for Google to index Web 2.0 sites I create as part of DAS? Do I need to use any indexing service or anything else besides building Web 2.0s with a 3 to 5 page post each to make sure that Google indexes them? It's been taking longer lately. I don't have a set time for it. Depends on what type of links you're sending to them, but it can take a few months. You know, it can take a month. It depends how strong the links are you're sending to them usually. From Riz, as a follow-up to the question I had earlier about high DA properties and domains such as brandname.weebly.com, I'm using these to rank client sites. I was branding them all, such as aboutme.brandname, but it seems like using niche keywords for these URLs would be better for relevance, not to mention writing the high DA, example, DelawarePlumbers.weebly.com, link to Delaware Plumbers site. Yeah, I mean, again, that's going to give you more juice, Riz. You know, a keyword relevant Web 2.0 going to a Delaware, a keyword, you know, the niche specific money site is going to give you more juice than brand. But I mean, some people just like brand because it's kind of more natural. It could be easier to sell in the long run and all that. So I mean, it just depends on what you want to do. But you're definitely going to see more movement with keywords in the in the Web 2.0s. All right. How necessary is social profiles and to get it Google verified for lead gen sites? If I want to start a site for lead generation, is it necessary to get Facebook, Google+, Twitter profiles? My competition DA is 1 to 14. I think it's pretty easy to outrank these. I mean, I have sites ranking totally fine, Ganesh, with no social at all. Not Google verified either. So, I mean, I can't really answer how necessary, but is it necessary? Absolutely not. It's not necessary. It's only going to help you, make it easier to rank, but definitely not necessary. I would rather people do it because it can, again, it's more powerful and it creates diversity and it's more natural, but it's not. It doesn't need to be done to rank. I think in the training somewhere I heard a reference to a PBN only being used for about 20 links. Obviously, some PBNs are more powerful than others, but can you give me an idea about how many links a decent PBN can give out over time? If I had a decent PBN, it was themed around health, as opposed to being general. Over a year or two, could I blast out 200 links? Is this a bad idea? I definitely wouldn't do that, man, Nicholas. Not saying it wouldn't work. Remember, the more sites you put on a PBN, the more risk you have of affecting all those sites. All right. But you can put a lot of links on there. You know, a lot of people think you can't, but you can. A lot of people also says that it kills the link juice. It doesn't kill. I mean, it's going to be less powerful for each link you do, but not that much. Not people really over exaggerate how much link juice is lost when you add new links. Follow up. I just used cheap as an example. If I could have been best or anything else. My question was more about matching the company name and the EMD term. If they do not match, would that keep the EMD from ranking as well if the EMD and the company name matched? I mean, whatever the EMD, the exact EMD is, Eric, that particular term is going to rank the easiest. All right. I'm trying to read this again. Matching the company name and the EMD term. Yeah, whatever the domain name is, Eric, that's what's going to rank the easiest. Then any word in the EMD is also going to help rank for that particular niche. So if you're, again, if we go back to the bankruptcy example, if you have bankruptcy in your domain name, it doesn't have to be Los Angeles in there. I think we had one down here, like bankrupt 123. Any bankruptcy type terms, that's going to help you rank a lot easier for those terms. All right. Typically, company name So this company name is Jasmine Feruz. Company names are going to be pretty easy to rank for because you can just throw it in the title and you don't really have competition for your company name. So I mean, it just depends how you want to do it. But yeah, having a keyword in the domain name, just one, is going to help you rank a lot easier. So these guys actually did their brand name plus bankruptcy law, which I like a lot, because they got their brand name in there plus bankruptcy plus an identifying keyword. So that could be a good way to do it as well. Thanks for valuable information. So I understand it's okay to use social exposure for both our money sites and PBNs, yes. But should we use video cracking on our PBNs or should we avoid it altogether? I use it on my PBNs, Andres, but I'll usually set it up for every maybe 30 to 40 days. I don't have it post too often, and I don't use it on all my PBNs. I mix it up. You only use one PBN for your money site. You don't mix it with other money sites. Yeah, I do. I mix it up with our money sites, Carolyn. I think it would look weird if all links from PBNs were going to the same money site. I mean, just one link per money site, Carolyn, on a PBN. I'm talking about on multiple PBNs. Alright. Alright, take 3 on this. I'm trying to rank a YouTube video. I followed what you said you did for Insanity versus P90X. Or 2 gigs from Seawork on Fiverr. The first one was for 800 bookmarks. They sent me the results spreadsheet, and all 800 plus links were sent from .info sites. Would this be sketchy looking to Google's eyes? Yeah, it could be, Deborah. But again, YouTube has a high DA, so you can really get away with a lot more. So you'd probably be okay with that. All right, depends on the competition if you're going to see any movement or not, though. The amount of competition. Let's see. I'm creating several Web 2.0s as part of a DAS cluster. From the training, I understand that it's fine to have keyword in the exact anchor text leading from one Web 2.0 to another who has the exact same keyword in the domain name or URL. But now, when I watch March, April, May Master webinar, I wonder if it's over-optimized. I mean, in my opinion, if you kept doing that, Inese, with all your Web 2.0s, it would probably lead to over-optimization. Because I think they look more at the whole picture. So, I mean, I would mix it up across your Web 2.0s. I wouldn't keep doing that same thing over and over and over again. Alright? And that's my opinion on it. That's how I do it, at least. So, Web 2.01, I might have Delaware plumbers. Web 2.02, I might have plumbers in Delaware. Web 2.03, I might have a long tail, something like how to find plumbers in the Wilmington, Delaware area, something like that. Web 2.04, I might just have plumbers. So I'll mix it up like that. I wouldn't have Delaware Plumbers to delawareplumbers.weebly.com. Delaware Plumbers to delawareplumbers.tumblr.com. Delaware Plumbers to delawareplumbers.whatever.com. So you just mix it up like I just said with your anchor text, and then also mix up the URLs just to be safe. If one PBN is not strong enough to rank my money site on the first page, should I create more backlinks on the same PBN, or should I juice the money site with a second PBN? You can do both, Mark. I'll typically usually just do another PBN in that case, but actually in most cases I'll just do another PBN in pretty much all cases. There are some cases in really competitive niches where I'll try to juice up my PBNs. Usually that is not needed. But if I'm stuck in a really really competitive niche, then I'll try juicing up the PBNs more. But typically I don't even need to do that. If a link we are thinking of using as a PBN and is de-indexed doesn't show up when I search site.domain.com, it obviously wouldn't show up with subsequent penalty checks. Yeah, in that case you don't use it. Would you steer clear of using this domain as a PBN if it is de-indexed and thus not showing up for penalty checks? Yeah, I would steer clear, absolutely. Just to clarify, with PBNs, do we link from our PBN blog to our money site or to our PBN from our money site? You link PBN to money site, Pete, because your PBN powers the money site. Joanne, I created a client Google Plus profile and business page, and when I got verified, I found out he had another Google profile and map at his house. Google got us for duplicate sites. Yeah, merged the profile, but still not allowing the business page to be verified. I've emailed several times in the past 2 weeks to tell them that the client moved to the correct Google map. The one we have made, no response from G. They are no longer offering a phone call solution. Check with either Cotton or Fletch on that, Joanne. Or you can post in the Facebook group. They have a lot of experience with that. And I know Stephen Floyd's on Cotton's webinars a lot. He's really good with that type of stuff. Me, not so much. Haven't dealt with that a ton. Do you use Content Authority to write content for your PBNs, or do you write your own stuff? I use fapcent@gmail.com. FAPCENT@gmail.com. Not the greatest, highest quality content, but it's $2 per 500 words. I'll throw it through Copyscape, and then I'll put it through Grammarly. And then I just use it. I mean, it's still not the greatest content. You know, it takes 5 minutes of editing usually, but I mean, it's cheap, and it works. How many money sites do you have? A lot, Peter. Yeah, I have a ton. Pete, on money sites, should we set no index follow for tags, categories, and articles on money sites, or just PBNs? I usually set that on money sites as well, Pete. So it looks like Pete's question was the last. Alright, repeat the PBN writer. Yeah, let me bring up a notepad. FAPCENT@gmail.com. Again, he charges $2 per 500 words. It's not usually the best content, but it makes sense. It just might need a little bit of editing. Like usually, like let me bring up one of the articles. So here's some stuff on electronic cigarettes. Delete that one. This is just an example of the quality. Let's just read it so you can see the quality. The main question that comes to most people when discussing electronic cigarettes is whether they are safer than traditional tobacco cigarettes. A lot has been discussed and taught about the harmful effects of smoking cigarettes, chief among them being a major contributor in causing lung cancer and respiratory diseases. People would want to know whether the new electronic version is a safer cigarette. So, I mean, it's not like greatly written content, but it makes sense. And one thing that they will do is they'll repeat keywords too much. So I'll kind of go through and just change that out. Like, you know, like for my electronic cigarette articles, they put electronic cigarette in there way too much. So I'll like, you know, I'll change like e-cigarettes to them, or I'll put in, stop doing that. Or I'll put in like, you know, he's using all e-cigarettes, so I'll change it to like e-cigs and stuff like that. So that's one thing I would say. You see e-cigarettes, e-cigarettes, e-cigarettes. So I'll change this to like they. You know, so I'll do stuff like that to make sure the keywords aren't in the article too much. Because I don't like when even for PBN content when a keyword's in there too much. And then I'll also just throw it through Grammarly. So if we copy this, I'll just copy a little bit of it. And of course, I'll throw it in Copyscape first. They almost always pass, but every once in a while they won't. So make sure you do run it through. With if you're outsourcing any writing, I recommend putting it through Copyscape. Okay, so it passed, and now I'll throw it in here. I usually edit it like this, make sure it looks better, and then it will give you suggestions here. All right, you know, long term is supposed to have a dash in it. E-cigarette is supposed to have a dash in it. Popular should have a X or a comma after it. You know, it's the World Health. And I'll always read it to make sure the change they're recommending makes sense as well. And then I'll make changes that should be happening. And usually after all that, the content's pretty good. I mean, it's not well written like if someone's reading it, but that doesn't matter. I just want it to make sense as far as like sentence structure and spelling, because that's what Google can identify. As long as like it's proper sentence structure and all that, Google can't tell the difference between good content and bad content. All right. All right, so let me make sure no more questions before we wrap up here. All right, so there's a few more. I'll answer these ones, and then we'll get rolling here. I'll get this recording in the bag. Do you use pingler.com or other blog ping tools? Usually not, Tim. The only reason I will use them is for lower quality links. Like if I'm using, if I'm trying to boost up maybe second or third level links with like spammier type links, then I'll put those spammier type links into a backlink indexer. Like I think I use indexification.com for that. But typically like blog, like PBN posts and all that type of stuff, no, I don't use any pinging or anything. I thought we only set no file categories and tags only on PBNs. We do that on money sites. How if we are trying to rank? I mean, you're not really trying to rank the categories and tags, or I'm usually not trying to use in. I believe some of my money sites I've done it on, some I haven't. I'll have to actually check. But I'm not too worried about that just because I'm not trying to rank categories and tags. Alright. Pete. Greg, do you focus mostly on affiliate sites or client sites, and why? I now like affiliate, Pete, but I still do a lot of client because of testing. You know, I'm testing for the community and all that. If I wasn't a coach, if I wasn't coaching people, I would do all affiliate. I wouldn't care about client, just because I like affiliate. I mean, you know, you get a site set up, you get ranking, it's automated income. I mean, I have sites set up out there ranking, pulling in hundreds of dollars a day, and they've been doing so for a long time, and I haven't touched them at all. You know, that's automated income. Clients, you gotta talk to the client. You know, they drop a few spots and they give you crap. Like I don't like dealing with clients. It depends on where you are in your career. You know, when I first started, I was willing to do anything because I was, you know, I was at the bottom. I wasn't making any money, so I was willing to do anything to make money. Clients, affiliate, anything. And client is the easiest way to go. It's the easiest way to get started. So I started with client. As I made more money, I started cutting clients and doing more affiliate because I was able to do that. You know, I put in the time, I made money, I could invest more. You know, safer for me to go with the affiliate route because affiliate can be more risky. You know, you got to get it to rank, and then it can take longer because it's usually more competitive, and then you got to worry about conversion. Now, what I do is I rank sites and I let someone else worry about the conversion part. So I just rank them, and then I have partners who just do the conversion, and they get their percentage. So I mean, yeah, it depends on where you are. I mean, if I was just starting, when I was just starting, again, I was willing to do anything. I was willing to do whatever it took. Then as I made more money and moved forward, I did less and less of what I wanted to do. But when you're starting, you got to be willing to do a lot of things that you don't necessarily want to do, and then as you get more successful, you can cut off more and more things that you don't like doing. So now I'm at a point where, you know, I've been doing this a long time, and I've pretty much caught everything out that I don't like doing. Like I don't like dealing with clients, so I don't do it. I work on client sites and I let someone else deal with the clients. Like Mike deals with any clients we have, or any local sites. I have a lot of local sites that I just use as test sites for the community. And I like doing SEO. I like testing and stuff like that. So that's what I do now. But as you move along, Pete, you can cut out more and more things you don't like. But my suggestion is, as you start, just do whatever it takes, even if you don't like doing it, because as you go along, as you make more money, you're going to be able to cut that type of stuff out. Alright, from Jamie, when doing the penalty check site domain.com, this worked for expired as well as auction domains, correct? Yeah, but remember when you're filtering sites to look for, Jamie, you're only looking for sites that are indexed anyways. If you put the index greater than 0, that site is indexed. Alright? To get content from the fapsenergy.com, just email them. Tell them Greg sent you. Or just tell them you're a student of Greg's, whatever. How do you find affiliate programs? Just type in niche affiliate program. Alright. How do we find people to work on the conversion end of our affiliate sites? That's what the Facebook group is for, Cliff. You know, find people who like conversion. You know, if you're an SEO, find someone who likes conversion and work it out that way. Alright, cool. So it looks like everyone is good. I'm going to wrap up this one. Gotta get ready to go get my son. I will have this recording over to David by tonight, and it will be in your members area probably by tomorrow. Alright? Alright, guys, thank you for coming out today. I appreciate so many people coming today and asking questions. I will see you all next Monday. Have a good one.